Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong.
And we're going to create a workers' White House in a nation that respects the rights of working men and women. Because what's happening in America today is that workers are ignored. The concentration of wealth is increasing, it's accelerating. The Bush tax cuts accelerated the concentration of wealth to the top. $1.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, most of them going to the wealthiest Americans. In this country today, the rich have been getting richer and the poor have been getting poorer. And when you say that, they say, oh, class warfare. Well, guess what? There is class warfare. We lost, you know. But you know what? We are going to reclaim the wealth of this nation and the workers' rightful role in being able to participate in not only creating wealth, but in sharing it. It's only fair that when people spend a lifetime working to create a strong economy in this country, that they have the opportunity to have a living wage, to have solid benefits, to have a decent retirement. That's not what's happening in America today, though, because what's happening is wages are going down when you compare it to the cost of living. Workers' benefits are going down. Retirement security is being shaken all over this country. What we see happening is a redistribution of the wealth upwards. And it's creating a condition in America where people's hopes are being smashed. I marched with many of you in 1999 in the streets of Seattle to call attention to the world community, about trade laws which don't work for people. We have seen 3 million jobs lost in this country since July of 2000, manufacturing jobs. We've seen the wealth of this nation deteriorate as global corporations have become more and more powerful. We've seen NAFTA resulting in a destructive undermining of our American economy. Look, I've traveled all over this country. I've seen grass growing in parking lots where in the factories they used to make cars, or they used to make bicycles, or they used to make washing machines, or they used to make car parts, or they used to make aircraft parts. I've seen grass growing in the parking lots and the padlock on the gates. And just a scene of stark reality which has resulted in so many American communities being virtually wasted. This is the reality that people are living with today in America, of trade which has created profits for a few at the misery of the many. And this isn't only a matter relating to the United States. It relates to Canada and Mexico and to countries all around this world. You know, NAFTA, when it was passed, had protections for CDs and for videos. Oh yeah, intellectual property. But workers' rights, not a chance. Didn't want to get that. It was going to be an impediment towards trade. Think about that. And yet what's happened is that NAFTA has been used to whipsaw unions. Labor gets to a negotiating table and they find that they're told, okay, here's the deal, take it or leave it. You don't like it, we're out of here. And in some cases they took the deal and the corporation moved later on anyway. NAFTA has been used to break workers. And the WTO has been used to keep the NAFTA agreement in place without any changes, because as all of us know, any changes to NAFTA are illegal under the WTO. So this whole trade structure that's been set up has created a condition where the wealth keeps accelerating and the American workers and workers all over this country are feeling an adverse effect. I don't know how anyone could run for president as a Democrat and not recognize that. I don't know. Now, there are candidates who are running for president. I brought this into the debates. There are candidates running for president. They're saying, oh, we'll fix NAFTA. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot make any exceptions to NAFTA because they're illegal under the WTO. There's only one way to fix NAFTA, and there's only one way to fix the WTO. And when I'm elected president, my first act in office will be to take that path, and that is to cancel NAFTA and the WTO and return to bilateral trade conditioned on workers' rights, human rights, and the environment. Because what's happening in America today, workers are being beat down. Workers are finding they're struggling to hold on to their quality of life. They're struggling to hold on to their homes. How many Americans, you miss one paycheck, and you got to worry about whether or not you're going to be able to make the house payment. It's happening everywhere. How many Americans, they're out of work, and they got to worry about whether or not after COBRA runs out, whether they're going to be able to have and afford health insurance. How many Americans feel that pressure inside their family homes today, where if the wages get knocked down, where if the benefits are lost, where if retirement benefits are adversely affected, suddenly it changes the whole family's picture. It changes people's dreams. It changes what people worked a lifetime for. We can't let this country go back to the days when corporations ruled everything and workers had no say at all. We can't go back to the days of 16 tons.
You load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, as I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
No more 16 tons in America. The American worker will not be crushed by corporations. The American worker will be lifted up, and the American worker will have his and her rights enshrined in a worker's White House, and those include the right to organize, the right to collective bargaining, the right to strike, the right to decent wages and benefits, the right to a safe workplace, the right to a secure retirement. We will have a workers' White House where those rights will be protected. No more 16 tons in America. It's time to recognize that we have just as much of a right, if not more right, to the claims of this nation that all the corporate interests put together. This is time for workers to have a chance to reclaim their country. And if there's one union ready to take that step, if there's one union that has the courage and has shown the indomitable nature of what happens when workers stand up for their rights, it is the ILWU, and I'm proud to stand here with you. And what will it mean to have a workers' White House? Let me tell you what it will mean. It will mean that we together will lead the way to establishing universal health care, Medicare for all, single payer, where we're all covered, where all Americans are covered, no more health care for profit in America. Now, how do insurance companies make their money? They make their money by not providing health care. When you're sick, They don't want you to get specialized care because that costs insurance companies more money. Your doctor has to check with an insurance agent to determine whether or not you can be treated. Today's insurance policies are covering less and people are paying more. In the last 3 years, premiums have gone up 50% all across the country. Co-pays and deductibles have gone up. How many people have experienced that? America, here you are. And yet, what we see happening is, we see a country where these private interests are so powerful that many presidential candidates will say, you know what? Good idea, Medicare for all, single-payer system, great idea, but it'll never pass the Congress. Now think about this. Someone runs for president of the United States, and they claim, they'll tell people, look, I'm sorry, you know, maybe I'll give these programs a little more money. Maybe we'll give businesses tax credits. Great idea, huh? Tax credits to perhaps give their workers some benefits. But as far as radically changing the system, well, you know, we can't go there because we just can't fight it. I'll tell you what. Anyone who aspires to be president of the United States must be ready to challenge the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and break the chains that they have put on American consumers on health care issues and enable people to be able to reclaim their health in this country. It is time, America. It is time. We have a right to health care in a democratic society. We have a right to a system which we own, which does not own us. And the insurance companies today, they own us. The pharmaceutical companies today, they own us. And we're going to change that system to create universal, single-payer Medicare for all, which covers everything, which covers all medically necessary procedures, which covers complementary and alternative medicine. Insurance companies hear that and they go, oh my God, preventive health care? Why, how are we going to make money? If people aren't sick, we can't make money. But if they do get sick, we don't want to cover it. What a system. This universal health care that we're talking about, every industrialized nation has it. Everyone. And every industrialized nation understands that it's a way of protecting your economy. It's a way of protecting people. It's a way of incentivizing a healthier workforce. It's a way of taking all of those issues out of the conflict of labor management and creating a condition where everyone's covered. The plan that I'm offering to the people of the United States is embodied in legislation, H.R. 676, Medicare for all, and here's what it covers. It covers, in addition to all medically necessary procedures and complementary and alternative medicine, dental care. Now, I want you to know that this smile came at great expense, as do all of us. Come at great expense when we find out how much dental care costs. And if you have a family, each person starts to add up. We can have comprehensive dental health care. We can have vision care. We can have mental health care. Many families need that. They're not getting help. All covered. We can have long-term health care. Now, a lot of baby boomers sitting in this audience. We want to be healthy a long time, but suppose somebody in the family, could be a parent, requires health care over long term. How many people have to risk everything they've worked for their whole lives? Everyone faces that. You have an elderly parent, and you're right at the point where you got to worry about, you know, what's the nursing home going to cost, and can you afford it? Do you have to sign over your house, give over all your bank accounts, give over your life savings? This system is wrong. This system destroys people. This system makes it impossible for people to be able to keep what they have, work for over a lifetime. And I say it's time to change that system and have a benefit in our health care system that covers long-term care, and that's what my plan does. And a prescription drug benefit. How many senior citizens? I know in my own district in Cleveland, Ohio, senior citizens are splitting their pills to make the prescriptions last. Let's tell the truth here. People are paying $400 or $500 a month, and sometimes more, for prescription drugs. Now think about that. Think about what that does to a budget. If you got to pay a few $100s or more a month, cuts into your budget for the house, for clothing, for food, for your children, for your parents. It cuts into a budget. Pharmaceutical companies' profits are through the roof. The pharmaceutical companies, a couple years ago, they raised $30 million for the Republican Party on the eve of a vote on prescription drugs. The pharmaceutical companies, a couple months ago, put a provision in Medicare legislation that took out cost containment or cost controls, which meant that a prescription drug benefit under Medicare is being used to try to break Medicare. That's how cynical this system is. That's why we need to have a comprehensive prescription drug benefit put right into Medicare for all. So never again will Americans have to worry about whether or not they can afford to keep healthy. Now let me tell you how much this costs. It costs the same amount of money that's in the system right now. We are paying right now for a universal standard of care, but we're not getting it. Where's our healthcare dollar going? Stock options, executive salaries, corporate profits, lobbying, advertising, marketing, paperwork. What does that have to do with healthcare? It has everything to do with corporate profits. This system is wrong. And when we change it, we put all that money that should be going into healthcare back into healthcare, and everyone in this country is covered. It is time that we stood up for the basic human rights of the American people and had healthcare, Medicare for all, single payer. This is the moment, and you're part of this new movement in this country. Let's talk about retirement. You know, if you're lucky enough to have a job and you put a lot of time in on it, and particularly if you're working hard work on the docks or in warehouses, you work 20, 30, 40 years, it can be pretty tiring. People's bodies wear out. My dad drove a truck for 35 years. He died with his first retirement check in his pocket, uncashed. I can tell you that coming from the neighborhoods of the city of Cleveland, I see people who have worked there 30 years on a job and sometimes more, sometimes 40. And when they get to be in their 60s, if they want to retire, today what's happening is that retirement age keeps getting moved out. People join the system, they were told they were going to be able to retire at age 65. No, it's being moved out to eventually age 67. Some people have even talked about moving it out to age 70. Well, those are people who obviously don't have to worry about their retirement. But I will tell you that Social Security right now is the key for so many families. People depend on it. And what are people supposed to do if that retirement age keeps getting moved out? When they, you know, the average American now is retiring at age 62. People are retiring earlier. So there's this gap. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What are Americans supposed to do? Let me tell you what I intend to do. When I'm elected President of the United States, I am going to lead the way to move the retirement age back to 65 so that when people want to retire at 65, they'll be able to do so at 100% benefit. It's time. And if you don't want to retire, that's your business. But if you want to retire, the money should be there. Now, there are people in Washington and on Wall Street who want to privatize Social Security. Oh, yeah, remember all the talk a couple years ago? All the talk was, let's privatize Social Security. Wall Street couldn't wait to get its hands on Social Security. And then we saw Enron and WorldCom and all the corruption on Wall Street. Last year alone, 250 companies restated, another word for lied about, their earnings. Okay? You know, how would you like to restate your bank account? Yeah, well, they do that to their shareholders and their investors. They want to be able to privatize Social Security. All those privatization schemes are over when I'm elected president because that money belongs to Main Street, not Wall Street. Wall Street wants to make money, fine. Let them earn it honestly. It'll be a new experience for many of the people there. Look at how many people had their retirement stolen. The Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation has more and more companies that are basically shifting their pension obligations onto this fund. And it's happening. You know, there's millions and millions of Americans who are having their pensions at risk because corporations are just cheating people out of the pensions. They're going belly up, and they're disclaiming any responsibility for pensions. What's happening in this country? It's like everything people work for a lifetime is at risk. That's why this is the moment we can create a shift. That's why to have someone who comes from the neighborhoods of a city, who grew up in the city of Cleveland, whose family understood what it's like to struggle to make ends meet. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was growing up in Cleveland, my family never owned a home. Family grew very quickly. Some of you will understand this because you may have had a similar experience. It grew very quickly, and so couldn't afford to buy a house. And so eventually the family expanded to 7 children. And as it expanded, we just kept getting moved out of the apartments we were in because the apartments were too small. So we moved from place to place to place. By the time I was 17, we lived in 21 different places, including a couple cars. So I understand what people go through to try to struggle daily to make ends meet. That life can be wonderful if you have a little bit of security. Life can be just great if you have a home you can call your own. Life can be possible if you have decent health care, if you have good schools. I mean, all these things are things that we should have a right to expect in a democracy, but we understand that life isn't easy for a lot of people. And it's important for a president of the United States to be able to connect with people on a level of knowing what's possible. I mean, there's so many good things that can happen in this country. We can lift this country up. But we can't lift this country up if it's being controlled for the economic interests of a few. And so my presidency will be about empowering workers and empowering all Americans to be able to reach their dreams and reach their goals in life. This is the moment when America needs to not only focus on Social Security, but in the broadest sense, but finally we need to look at what we can do to make this nation more secure. Now, in the last year, I led the effort in the Congress of the United States to challenge this administration's march towards war against Iraq. And in doing so, you know, the Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Well, this is time for America to be set free from the lies of this administration, which took this country to war against a nation that did not attack us. The fact of the matter is, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, with Al-Qaeda's role in 9/11, with the anthrax attack on our country. Iraq had no intention of attacking America, had no ability to do so. Where are the weapons of mass destruction? You know, I come from the inner city of Cleveland. They couldn't find the weapons in Baghdad, but I'll tell you, I know where the weapons of mass destruction are. I've been mayor of a city. I know about weapons of mass destruction. Poverty is a weapon of mass destruction. Poor health care. Poor health care is a weapon of mass destruction. Poor education is a weapon of mass destruction. And we have conditions here in this country which we need to address, and we don't need to be running around the world looking for dragons to slay. We need to work with the world community on matters of international security, and as President of the United States, I'll reach out to the world community so that we can make America more safe and make the world more safe. Brothers and sisters, fellow Americans, and citizens of a world where we aspire to peace, this is the moment when we get to challenge the fear that settled in over this country, The fear that caused America to attack a country that did not attack us. The fear that caused a big buildup in the Pentagon spending at the expense of a whole domestic agenda. The fear that caused America to build new nuclear weapons. The fear that causing America to put weapons in space. The fear that caused America to want to build a missile shield. The fear that caused America to build a Department of Homeland Security. The fear that caused America to pass the Patriot Act. This is a moment for us to challenge the fear. Remember the message. Remember this message that's in this flag. This flag, the national anthem by Francis Scott Key, talks about, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave? He made the connection between bravery and freedom, between courage and democracy. This is the moment that we need to call upon each other to find the essential courage that's in the heart of all Americans, and to stand up and to speak out, and to challenge laws which deprive us of our civil liberty, to challenge an administration which lied to get us into a war, to challenge an administration which seeks to crush the aspirations of American workers. This is the time for us to stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up for America, stand up for our dreams, stand up for our hopes, stand up for optimism, stand up for a new possibility, stand up for workers' rights. Let's do it. That's what it's about. 2004, let's regain the White House. Let's create an America that we can all be proud of. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.